The Karthigai Deepam issue, the shrinking space for Hindu rituals in their own civilizational home, written by K. Sindhu, an examination of Thiruparankundram that traces how lawful Hindu worship, upheld by courts, was restrained by administrative action, political escalation, and historical dilution in the very land shaped by Hindu civilization. The controversy surrounding the lighting of the Karthigai Deepam at the Thiruparankundram hill in Tamil Nadu is not merely about a ritual or a festival. It is a constitutional moment that lays bare the manner in which Hindu rites are subordinated to administrative convenience, political calculation, and speculative fears. Despite a clear judicial finding affirming devotees' right to light the Deepam within the temple precincts, a right rooted in antiquity and recognized even during the colonial period, the Tamil Nadu government chose obstruction over compliance. The episode exposes a deeper pattern in which Hindu practices are treated as negotiable concessions, and constitutional guarantees yield to selective secularism and appeasement-driven governance. By examining the civilizational background of Thiruparankundram, the religious significance of the Karthigai Deepam at Deepathun, the High Court's rulings, and the political escalation that followed, this article shows how selective secularism, administrative obstruction, and historical erasure together constrict Hindu sacred space in contemporary Bharat. Sacred geography and the Karthigai Deepam ceremony. Thiruparankundram hill occupies a distinctive place in the religious and cultural landscape of Tamil Nadu. At its foothills stands the Arulmigu Subramaniya Swami Temple, one of the 6 abodes of Lord Murugan, and among the most revered sites in Tamil Hindu tradition. For centuries, the hill has functioned not merely as a physical landmark, but as a living sacred geography shaped by ritual practice, pilgrimage, and collective memory. Alongside the Murugan Temple, the hill also contains ancient Jain caves and the Sikandar Badusha Dargah, a structure dating to the 14th century Madurai Sultanate. At the summit of Thiruparankundram stands the Deepathun, an ancient stone lamp pillar historically associated with the lighting of the Karthigai Deepam. Within Tamil Hindu tradition, the lighting of the Karthigai Deepam at elevated points symbolizes spiritual illumination, the ascent of consciousness, and continuity with an ancient civilizational inheritance. Literary sources, temple records, and enduring collective memory consistently identify the Deepathun as a focal site of this ritual for centuries. The Karthigai Deepam ritual itself has roots extending back to the Sangam age. Observed on the full moon day of the Tamil month of Karthigai, it signifies the victory of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, and Dharma over adharma. Across Tamil Nadu, lamps are lit in homes, temples, and public spaces, creating a shared spiritual and cultural moment that binds households and communities into a common rhythm of observance. At Thiruparankundram, this ritual assumed a distinctive and elevated form through the lighting of the Deepam at the hilltop Deepathun. Devotees recount that the flame once burned there across generations, serving as a visible beacon of faith and continuity. Over time, however, this practice was disrupted. Devotees attribute the discontinuation of hilltop lighting to periods of foreign invasion, political instability, communal tension, and later administrative reluctance. Colonial-era disruptions, followed by post-independence caution, gradually confined the Deepam to lower hill structures near the Ukuppalayar Mandapam. However, disruption does not extinguish rites. The temporary suspension of a ritual under coercion or unrest does not negate the right to its restoration. Hindu ritual practice has never been a rigid, text-bound system frozen in time. It adapts, retreats under pressure, and re-emerges when space permits. Top-of-form judicial recognition of a centuries-old ritual. The immediate controversy surrounding Thiruparankundram hill arose when a devotee, Rama Ravi Kumar, approached the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court, seeking restoration of the traditional practice of lighting the Karthigai Deepam at the Deepathun. He contended that the ritual had been observed for centuries and that its discontinuation was a relatively recent deviation from established practice. For several decades, the lighting had been restricted to a mandapam near the Ukuppalayar shrine midway up the hill, a compromise that departed from long-standing tradition. The temple administration, governed by the Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Department, along with the ruling government of Tamil Nadu, opposed the petitioner on multiple grounds. Their objections included the proximity of the Deepathan to the Dargah and concerns relating to public order and law enforcement. On December 1, 2025, G.R. Swaminathan delivered a detailed judgment permitting the lighting of the Karthigai Deepam at the Deepathan. The court restored the devotees' right to perform the ritual at its traditional location, characterizing it as a well-established customary practice supported by substantial literary, historical, and judicial evidence. In doing so, it relied on historical materials and prior rulings, including a 1923 civil decree affirming the temple's title over the hill, which had been upheld by the Privy Council. The court held that the Deepathan stands on unoccupied temple land and lies outside the precincts of the Dargah. It further noted that the Sikandar Dargah had issued a no objection at a peace meeting in 2005, subject to the lighting being carried out at a distance of more than 15 meters. Significantly, the judgment affirmed that disruption of ritual practice due to external or coercive factors does not extinguish religious rights. It directed that the Deepam be lit at the Deepathan and ordered police protection to ensure compliance, emphasizing that a symbolic act such as lighting a lamp could not reasonably be said to offend the sensibilities of any community. Executive defiance and contempt. The events that followed were deeply concerning. In disregard of clear judicial directions, temple authorities restricted the ritual to the lower hill mandapam, prompting devotees to approach the court with a contempt petition. In response, G.R. Swaminathan issued a further order permitting the petitioner and 10 others to proceed to the Deepathan for the lighting of the Deepam under Central Industrial Security Force protection, emphasizing the importance of symbolism in matters of faith. Even this order was not implemented. Local police invoked prohibitory provisions, blocked access to the hill, and prevented the ritual. Protests followed, detentions were made, and several people were injured. Amid this escalation, one devotee, Thiruparankundram, self-immolated. A court order, operative in real time, was thus effectively neutralized by executive defiance. Meanwhile, the state approached the Supreme Court of India. What should have been routine enforcement of Article 25 protections devolved into a confrontation between the executive and the judiciary. The issue, therefore, ceased to be merely religious. It became unmistakably constitutional. Political escalation and targeting of the judge as the issue attracted national attention. Political rhetoric escalated sharply. Allegations were leveled against G.R. Swaminathan, culminating in a letter signed by over 100 opposition members of parliament seeking his removal. The charges accused him of bias and of deciding cases contrary to secular principles. However, they remained broad and imprecise, offering no specific facts, evidence, or reasoned substantiation to support so grave a demand. This development provoked a rare and forceful institutional response. 56 former judges of the Supreme Court and various high courts issued a joint statement condemning the impeachment move as a brazen effort to browbeat judges who do not fall in line with the ideological and political expectations of a particular section of society. They warned that permitting such actions would strike at the foundations of democracy and judicial independence. The episode must therefore be understood for what it represents, a warning signal. When judges who uphold Hindu religious rights are targeted rather than respected, the message conveyed is unmistakably chilling. Judicial independence cannot operate selectively. A judiciary applauded for decisions favoring certain faiths, but attacked for protecting legitimate Hindu practices risks erosion of its independence, not merely in perception, but in substance. The attempt must also be assessed against the constitutional standard governing the removal of judges. Proven misbehavior or incapacity constitutes the sole grounds for removal of a judge of a high court or the Supreme Court of India. In Krishna Swamy v. Union of India, 1992, for SCC 605, the court made it clear that errors of judgment or unpopular decisions do not amount to misbehavior. Only willful abuse of office, corruption, or moral turpitude meet this threshold. Measured against this settled standard, the allegations against Justice Swaminathan conspicuously failed to qualify with its devotees. Instead, the department positioned itself against those it was meant to represent. Autonomy gave way to bureaucratic caution, and faith was subordinated to administrative convenience. This episode reinforces a long-standing critique of state control over Hindu temples. When religious institutions are administered by the government, they are vulnerable to being shaped by prevailing political ideologies rather than guided by their own traditions and responsibilities. The call to free temples from government control thus emerges not as ideological rhetoric, but as an institutional necessity rooted in experience. Broader implications. The implications of the Thiruparankundram episode extend well beyond a single ritual or location. At its core, the controversy raises a deeper institutional concern, whether lawful religious practices can be stalled or effectively nullified on the basis of anticipated resistance rather than demonstrable illegality. While Article 25 of the Constitution is subject to public order, that limitation cannot be reduced to speculative or preemptive fears. If the mere possibility of unrest, real or presumed, is treated as sufficient ground to interrupt constitutionally recognized practices, it confers an informal veto on those most willing to threaten disorder. Such an approach risks rewarding intolerance rather than upholding the rule of law, encouraging pressure politics, and gradually hollowing out the assurance that constitutional guarantees are meant to provide. Equally troubling is the targeting of a judge for upholding these rights. The impeachment motion against Justice Swaminathan, despite lacking any realistic prospect of success, has rightly drawn criticism from former judges and the wider public. When a government defies a court order and simultaneously vilifies the judge as biased for protecting a legitimate Hindu practice, it sends a chilling message. Judges may begin to hesitate, weighing not only the law but the political consequences of their decisions. Disagreement with judicial outcomes has established and dignified remedies through appeals, review, and constitutional procedure. Personal attacks on a judge who recognized lawful rights while discharging his duty have no place in a constitutional democracy. It is also significant that Hindu devotees consistently pursued peaceful and institutional avenues in this matter. They relied on historical decrees, administrative representations, peace committee resolutions, and finally the courts. Their conduct reflects restraint and sustained faith in constitutional processes. To characterize such a lawful assertion as provocative raises an unsettling question. If the lighting of a single lamp, once a year, at its traditional site is deemed disruptive, what does this suggest about the space available for Hindu religious continuity in public life? A society that perceives even a peaceful, lawful ritual as a threat to communal harmony reveals a deeper discomfort with Hindu religious expression itself. Public order cannot be preserved by curtailing or ignoring lawful practices. It can only be sustained by consistently and fairly enforcing legality. Closing remarks. The Thiruparankundram episode leaves behind a sobering truth about contemporary India. In the land where Hindu civilization was born and sustained itself for millennia, Hindu religious rights no longer enjoy assured protection, even from the judiciary entrusted to uphold the Constitution. When clear judicial findings are met with executive defiance, when enforcement is withheld in real time, and when judges who affirm Hindu rights are isolated or targeted, the promise of constitutional remedy itself begins to fray. Civilizations do not disappear through sudden collapse. They recede when their rituals are obstructed, their sacred spaces contested, and their rights rendered conditional on political comfort. Today, Hindu worship increasingly survives not by right, but by negotiation, delay, and compromise. The extinguishing of a lamp is never merely symbolic. It reflects a deeper erosion, where legality bends, institutions hesitate, and the oldest living faith in the subcontinent is left to defend itself without the complete protection of the state or the courts.